think we can begin.
Okay. Shalom Aleichem, everyone. It is very nice to see you all. I didn't prepare anything specific to share. Um, I just want to really, I'll share the Torah in a minute, but I kind of want to share a little bit of what Yeshiva kind of went through last week, just kind of bring you in. I see you as not just alumni, but as Chaverim and as interested Chaverim. So I wanted to kind of just kind of share with our experience over here. And then for me, the experience took another level today that I just want to share with you as well. Okay, so last week we were in Yeshiva for Simchas Torah on Shabbos, and I woke up in the morning. I sleep in the office. I woke up in the morning and I heard booms. That's what we were hearing. Didn't really think about it much. Didn't know what it was, but heard booms. I came down for davening and already was greeted by Burg and some others, sharing that there were rockets, and then a little bit after that, people were singing Iron Domes. There's all that, and then a little after that, we already heard sirens, and we had to kind of implement our protocols in terms of navigating Simchas Torah in Yeshiva. That was Shabbos. We didn't exactly know what was going on at all. We knew stuff was going on, but we didn't know what. And kind of sirens and rockets in Israel is unfortunately common, or not uncommon. It wasn't crazy. And we kind of had a regular Simchas Torah. That in the afternoon, we already started seeing Meretz guys getting called up, putting on uniforms. That took it another level of okay, this is something, this is getting serious. We heard some news, dribs and drabs. We had, some soldiers with us. Kind of heard, some news that was also a little bit scary, but no real information. And then Avichai, he himself was asked to report, and that already took it, another level. And we knew something pretty serious was happening, but we had no idea about any details. With Gold was also getting called up, Yehuda Gold, and so we didn't really know until Motzei Shabbos. We were holding one day over here, and guys who were holding one day, they went on their phones. We went on our phones, and we heard stage one, about the attack, the massacre. Again, the details were still a little fuzzy at that time, but we knew there was a tremendous tragedy in Israel, in the south, and that shook us very, very much. And it was, most yeshiva, 2/3 yeshiva was holding 2 days. So at some point, so that was step one, navigating Simchas Torah, which again was more or less regular, knowing that something was happening. Then we got to step two, which was, the guys who were holding 2 days were dating and didn't know anything really other than what we knew from day one. And then I felt it was important to kind of share with them, what we knew, and change the tone of their Simchas Torah from a more dancing celebration of Torah to a tone of tefillah, and the singing and hakafos became hakafos of slow and igunim, kumzit style, and it was very meaningful, and it was a shift. It was a shift, of tehillim, of tefillah, hakafos, but a different. That was kind of stage two for me and for the yeshiva. Going from this Simchas Torah, not really knowing, to trying to help guys navigate that, and with this lurking in my mind for me as Rosh Yeshiva tension, okay, but the parents are still holding by, 2 days of Yom Tov, so I'm going to have to communicate with the parents, at least an email, and then we had a Zoom meeting. But that was step three, is in order to kind of, discuss with the parents, knowing that war was coming, or maybe even was declared, and then keeping parents calm, which was definitely a challenge. And that was step three. And it's a little different when you're dealing with 18, 19, 20-year-old boys, and now adults. The boys who are here, and you experience things differently when you're here versus watching everything on CNN and TV and whatever. Different type of experience. So stage three was navigating, the parents, and that was really that was hard, but we worked very hard at it. A lot of good communication, And then stage 4 became, okay, we got to, we had 2 days of Ben Azmanim still scheduled after Simchas Torah. Stage 4 is, we can't really have Ben Azmanim, we have to come to Yeshiva, back to Yeshiva, and we started Yeshiva. And kind of navigating, what's going on around us with Yeshiva. And that's really when we had certain opportunities, which were amazingly inspiring, to help, to not just become a yeshiva of Limud Torah and a yeshiva of Tefillah, but a yeshiva of Chesed, and people like Burg and many others got into gear. If you did, you got very involved. We were able to do a lot of Chesed on the campus, because a lot of the Meretz Kola guys, were called up, and taking down their sukkahs and being there for their families, getting food for their families, little camps for their families. The guys got very, very involved in that. And then, we had the opportunity to really help out one group of 500 paratroopers.
Before that, I'm sorry to interrupt Rosh Yeshiva. Before that, I want to tell you something very special about the boys this year. On their own, we have 2 guys in Yeshiva that are Shana Beck guys, that they're like the Gabayim of Stuck of the Yeshiva, Tani Englander and Jonah Cohn. And they went around to the guys and they said, from your own money, not from money that your parents or grandparents or anything like, if every guy gives a couple dollars, we could really make something special. They raised in like an hour, from like only 65% of the yeshiva, they raised $5,000. No, they're $10,000. I'm sorry, $10,000. 5,000 was the initial. Then they raised $10,000. And Nisim, who runs the kitchen, went out and bought tuna and deli and rolls and lettuce, tomatoes. And the guys sat there one day just making sandwiches for Chayalim. And actually, I heard from a number of soldiers in the army that I've been in touch with, that for whatever reasons, they're having a hard time getting food. And sometimes the food that we're sending them is literally the food that they're eating. It's like the only food we're eating. So before we even started with any yeshiva chasadim, the boys were already on it. They raised their own money. They started doing their own chesed. Guys started a machzom lefi of taking on, I'm not going to say Lashon Hara for the following hours. Guys were taking on Tehillim and extra learning. Before we even got to anything big, just grassroots from the guys was incredible to watch. Then we got to the big ones.
Right. Go ahead. You take the big ones.
Okay, so I want to give credit where credit is due. It started really with Rav Yedidya's brother, Rav Yehuda Berzon, who has employees that are called up to Miluim. And there's this Tzanchanim Gidud, there's this battalion of paratroopers that are stationed outside of Beit Shemesh. And Rav Yehuda Berzon was in touch with them directly. The challenge here is not only doing chesed, but doing meaningful chesed. A lot of people are running around, I want to do something to help, which is beautiful. But it's important to know, what they actually need. So because Yehuda Berzon had this connection straight into the battalion, direct information from the battalion of what they needed. And what they needed was not army supplies. They're well supplied by the army. What they needed was basic things. They needed socks. They needed underwear. They needed slides. They needed, what else did we get them? T-shirts. Like really basic things. So Rav Yedidya, and this is a classic, you guys will appreciate this because it's classic Rav Yedidya. Rav Yedidya says to me, I'll do the Rav Yedidya voice out of respect. He says, Mordechai, I'm about to give them my credit card, $55,000 to start. Are we going to be able to raise this money? So I said, Rav Yedidya, we're going to raise that money. We're going to raise 3 times that amount. And I was wrong. The boys, we had a meeting, just to show you how fast you can do these things, quick and dirty. We had a meeting, Rav Katz, myself, the Rosh Yeshiva. I think Rav Ben was in that meeting. Maybe Rav Herschel was in the meeting. I think Rav Herschel came to the meeting a little bit later. And I said to Rav Katz, how fast can we get the website up? Can we have the website up by after Mincha? Katz said, yeah, we'll get it done. We'll have it up by after Mincha. We got 14 guys in the office, and we said, okay, you guys are the student leaders here. We're not taking control of this. You guys got to be in charge of this. Rav Ben spoke after Mincha. Zev Bosin, Shlomo's brother, spoke after Mincha. And every guy was on his phone. I said to the guys, no batala. Every single guy needs to be on their phone. You like that, Johnny? I said every single guy needs to be on his phone. Of course, there's one guy who was in the base medrash because he literally doesn't have a phone. He was learning, but Johnny likes that guy the best. But he every single guy was on their phone. Within 20 minutes, we had raised $55,000. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Within 45 minutes, we had raised $100,000. And the boys just didn't stop. There's a lot of need for chesed right now. And we're trying to figure out what with directly being tapped into the army, we're trying to figure out what the next thing is. And then boys were up all night long tying tzitzis. One of the amazing things that's happening in the country right now is that Jews that I had identified as secular Jews just a week ago are begging for tzitzis. They want tzitzis. They want to wear tzitzis into battle. And so the boys have been tying tzitzis. There's a picture of the Rosh Yeshiva that I know has since gone viral. The Rosh Yeshiva sitting in the base medrash tying tzitzis. And we made hundreds and hundreds of pairs of tzitzis. And then they, over the next day after the fundraiser, they were bringing by truck. They were bringing in just boxes of all the gear that we had ordered into the right now. His name is Shlomo Sombrowski, who's just a machine of chesed. Sombrowski was like organizing everything down in the Chadar Ochel. And then we got all the boys down in the Chadar Ochel, and you should have seen it. I've never seen anything like it. They were just packing their bags and just these beautiful bags with a letter from the Mevaseret boys on them. And they were really operating at like full capacity. It was very special to see. And then that night at around 9:30 at night, this was Thursday night, the Rosh Yeshiva came back from RBS, I came back from Yerushalayim. At 9:30 at night, 4 of the soldiers from that Sanchanim unit that we adopted, they came with a massive truck, and the boys greeted them right outside the base medrash in the Chatzer, and it was classic Mevs, definitely classic Mevs. It was Sarachek tournament type of screaming and chanting, like, "Are we ready? Are we ready?" Like that type of stuff. But then they moved into more appropriate. Nate Zucker, you would have loved it. It was they moved into much more appropriate type of singing. Gishmak to be a Yid, Am Yisrael Chai. It takes us a couple minutes to get our wings under us, but we eventually get it right. It was really, really inspiring to see. And then the truck pulled downstairs right outside the Chadar Ochel, and the boys made an assembly line of just packing everything onto the truck, which was really nice to see. And then one of the soldiers is a musician. He took out a guitar that one of the boys gave him, and there was like a kumsitz. There was a really beautiful kumsitz that this paratrooper was leading, and it was really, I can't describe it to you. It was really, really, really emotional, really emotional. And the tzanchanim that were there, they told me that you have only when they're out in the shetach, and you're wondering, like, do the people appreciate what we're going through? So seeing the Mevaseret boys, he was telling me, he's like, you have no idea how inspiring this is for us. And then after he left, Rav Ben had Mishmar down in the Chadar Ochel at 10:30, and then the boys hit the base medrash, and they were in the base medrash learning. Every single guy had the name of a soldier right next to him, and they were learning. Some were tying tzitzis, but everyone was doing something in the schus for a soldier. And then at 1:00 at night, we stopped for Tehillim, and we said Tehillim for a while. Then the boys had some sushi that was sponsored by some of the alumni, very generous. And then about 60 guys learned all night long until Vasikin, 6-0. The base medrash had a kol Torah going all the way to Vasikin of learning for the soldiers. Something very, very special. And then Eish Gesher brought some guys over Friday afternoon to play ball against us. And we dominated, but that's just my own competitive juices. Aaron, that's right, exactly. Whedon, you would have liked it. Johnny Dan's a beast. And Baruch Hashem, the boys are in good spirits. A lot of what's helping the boys is being involved. There's the starim of the yeshiva are strong right now. The minyanim are strong, but being involved, the chesed that they were involved in last week it was good for the boys. It was good to see them on an educational level really connect to Am Yisrael. That was something very special, and to Eretz Yisrael, of course. But just even to see, like, when they had an outlet, how they jumped on it, and it was something very special to see. There's something that Rav Isaacson, I think it should be his to say, but Rav Isaacson wants to say why this is personal for him right now. And I'll let Rav Isaacson say it, but you could all take a look at Rav Isaacson's screen name right now is Zachariah Yosef Ben Bela. And Rav Isaacson, maybe you should introduce why your screen name is that right now.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to face, tears. I cried a lot on Shabbos. I might lose it now. I don't know. We'll see. I'll try not to. My son, Zachariah, who I'm a big fan of. I'm a big fan of all my kids. Certainly a big fan of his. He did the army as a 19-year-old, young man. Was 2 years in a unit called Netzach Yehuda, a Nachal Haredi unit. After he finished, he joined. He went to Or Sameach, learned in Yeshiva for a couple of years. He got married. Zachariah had his fourth child about 4.5 weeks ago. He has 4 children that are under 5. 3 years ago, the army, he reached out to the army, they reached out to him, and they basically said, if you have an opportunity to withdraw from Miluim and not do Miluim anymore, and kind of basically withdraw from the army. And they gave him that option, and he took that option. He was busy with work, busy with raising a family, being a husband. He took that option, and life went along, in a regular way. This week, as things were developing, he started having thoughts that maybe he has an achrayus, a responsibility to withdraw his withdrawal from the army. Again, has 4 children, all under 5 and under. Discussed it with his wife at length, and they made a joint decision that he would apply to Tzahal for an ishur to be reinstated. Consult with me so much. He asked me what I thought. I didn't answer because I think I would have answered in a way that was selfish, for me, and I didn't feel that was the right thing to do. So I said, this is your decision. He consulted with one of his rabbeim, and basically, in a nutshell, him and his wife came to the conclusion that this is a milchemes mitzvah. The Gemara says, afilu kala mechupasa, has to go out for milchemes mitzvah, and he went. He signed up. The situation here is one that every single able-bodied person is being called up, and to help out wherever they can help out. Many are being called up to the south, to the Gaza border, but that means that other areas that might become hot, need to be supported. So they immediately gave him an ishur. They accepted his volunteerism, so to speak. This happened on Thursday. He thought he might get called up Friday or Shabbos. They told him he could spend Shabbos at home, and they said come in on Sunday. So this morning at 9:30, he got in the car to go to the base, and now he's on the base right in Hebron. That's where he was moved to, asked to go to report to. I'll just share with you again, very personally, that we had Shabbos together. We knew what was going on. We knew he was going to be called up, and singing Zmiros on Shabbos afternoon, I just broke down. I couldn't, just broke down. It's human nature is one that we know what's going on, and it's terrible. And there's a scariness to it, But until it's your own flesh and blood who's being called up, and we know they're Levias and people are sitting Shiva, and we know all that. We know all that. Soldiers and civilians and kidnapped people, it's terrible. It's terrible. But until it's your own flesh and blood, it's like it hits another level. It's just another level. I had a very hard day today, just navigating, juggling everything. it's tough. It's definitely tough. I don't want to, share with you that it's all, yes, Klal Yisrael is definitely coming together, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. It's inspiring to see how Klal Yisrael comes together, how what we can do when we set our minds to it. But we shouldn't ignore that there are families that are in tremendous, tremendous pain because of losses that they've already experienced, and there are other families who are in tremendous, tremendous stress because of not knowing what's going to be with their children, their husbands. It's very real. It's very real, and to that extent, I ask personally. I put my son's name. And I'll, Zachar Yosef ben Sarbela should be davened for bitoch shar chayole Yisrael. Not Chol Yisrael, also Chol Yisrael, but Chayole Yisrael. We definitely need tefillas. We need a lot of things, now. And it is an inspiring time, but it's also a scary time, and it's real. And to know that we're together, and there's support, worldwide, is meaningful. And again, people in Chutz La'aretz, there's just so much you can do. You can send money, and you can send material, and you can send, but sending the tefillas also is of I think vital importance, because to know exactly what's going to be, and again, as I say, once it's your own flesh and blood, it gets much more personal, much more real, and it's real. It's real. So that's, for me, stage 5 was today. Navigating yeshiva has been challenging but uplifting and energizing, and I've felt very, very alive over the past last week. Today and yesterday, different emotions started to kick in, and so that's something that just sharing, my own personal experience as my 29-year-old son volunteered to re-enlist, leaving now in my house. We're trying to help the family, his 26-year-old wife and their 4 small children. So that's also something that's going on. And I draw, a lot of lessons and strength from my son's strength. At the same time, not easy.
I'll jump in. I'll share the divrei Chizzuk that the Rosh Yeshiva is not sharing, because he's in, as you just saw, a very real place. On Shmini Atzeres, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, "Ikvuli od yom echad ki kasha elai predastem." Stay with me one more day, because it's difficult for me when you leave. And the Balei Chasidus explained this to mean, ki kasha elai predastem. It's difficult for me when you leave each other. On Sukkot, all of Yisrael is Roi Leishev B'Sukkah Achas. And everybody is together after Yom Kippur. Everybody's clean. Everybody's under the same sukkah, the same visitors from the same ushpizin. And then we leave each other, and we go our separate ways. This year in Klal Yisrael, especially here in Eretz Yisrael, has definitely been a year of machlokes, of division, and of preda. And I want you to know that the messages that we've gotten from people in America, from alumni, it means more than you guys can understand, because you could feel alone here in Eretz Yisrael, and you could feel like, do they really care? Do they really care what's happening? Do they really care about what it's like to hear the booms at night in Ramat Beit Shemesh every night? The windows in my house are rattling from the booms that are, Baruch Hashem, far off, but still definitely happening here in Eretz Yisrael. And when you get a phone call from a guy checking in, or a WhatsApp checking in, just want to let you know we're thinking about you. When people are sending over goods and making donations, when we see videos here in Eretz Yisrael of, centers, people packing things in America, getting involved not only by writing a check, but also physically with their dam. It's this year HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, Ikvuli od yom, I don't know, but the state of unity in Klal Yisrael is right now amazing. And if we're going to ever fix this Beis HaMikdash problem, it's going to be because we actually get our acts together and get unified. And I've never seen unity like this before in my lifetime. I've never experienced unity like this in Klal Yisrael. And that's the positive. The negative, as the Rosh Yeshiva said, is what we're communicating to the world is we're okay and we're not okay. We're okay because Israelis are resilient, and unfortunately, we've been through this before. But we're not okay because what happened is just not okay. And you're seeing now, if you're paying attention to the news and you're paying attention to the media, which may or may not be worth paying attention to sometimes, but you're seeing the tide of world opinion shifting as we predicted it would. Every Israeli that I know said, for 1 week they'll be behind us, but you'll see in a week from now everyone will have changed their tune, and that's already beginning to happen with certain Rishayim in Congress that have no moral clarity, that are trying to create some fake moral equivalency between the plight of the Palestinians and the atrocities that were committed on Simchas Torah. Rallies in London, in New York, pro-Palestinian rallies where people are holding up Nazi symbols. World opinion is definitely shifting, which means that now more than ever, we could care less really what these geniuses in Hollywood think about us. But what's most important is that, when times of crisis hit our family, that our family stands together. And one last thing that I'll say, and then I'll turn it over for any questions that any of you guys have. I really want to thank publicly to the alumni. I want to thank the Rebbeim of Mevaseret, who have been, as you might expect, absolutely phenomenal throughout this process, under very difficult circumstances. Some of them, many of them, I think all of them pretty much have, except for Hananya, have children at home. And that means that they're coming to work, kids coming with their kids to work. It's very trying circumstances, to say the least. We've been starting Shacharis a little bit later every day, not because we want to start Shacharis late, but because we want to give as much support to the families as we can. And I think with very few exceptions, the Rebbeim have been here and haven't missed Starim, and have been here to teach the guys and schmooze with the guys. And it's really been something very special. Nothing, again, that I wouldn't have expected from a Mevaseret Rebbe, but I want to publicly thank them for the work that they've done. And if you can, reach out to your Rebbeim and say, on behalf of the alumni, I want to appreciate all that you're putting into the yeshiva. These Rebbeim, as always, are incredible. I also want to thank publicly, and I see that Jason Kreisler is on the call. We have, Baruch Hashem, a number of alumni that are in the Army right now. And I don't want to start naming their names in case I forget anybody, but just really, it's amazing what these Chayalim do for Klal Yisrael. We have boundless Hakar Satov for everything they do for us. I know that I've been reaching out to Avichai every single day, even when his phone is off, just to tell him that I'm thinking about him. The guys have been amazing, delivering meals to Avichai's family every single day from the yeshiva, going shopping for them, etc., etc. But just to express our Hakar Satov to our Mevaseret Chayalim and to the Rebbeim, who have done an amazing job. And even though I know he won't take the gratitude, the Rosh Yeshiva literally slept here the night after Simchas Torah and has been a constant presence in the yeshiva over the last week, really guiding the ship safely into what we hope will be safe and secure waters. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and to ask a question. We'll see what we can share with you guys. This is that awkward part of the Zoom call where you unmute yourself and ask a question.
Hi, Rebbe. How are you?
Is that Noah Monzeg?
It's Ellie Weiss, actually.
Okay, Ellie Weiss. We're just trying to figure out how we can pull up the speaker feature. There's like a way to see who this. Maybe go to page 1.
I mean, I'm on Noam's phone, so.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, we're wondering how the relationship is with the Dati and the Haredi communities, and how people are feeling about, obviously, the Haredi have less of a presence in the army, and how that relationship is kind of unfolding in this moment.
From what I'm observing, the Haredim are very much involved in this effort. They're not in the army, but again, we've over the past years, we've seen a lot of division, both in the Dati community versus the Haredi community, and the reverse, the Chiloni community, left, right. There's been a tremendous amount of divide. Today, Haredim are very involved in the way they get involved. In other words, you've Gera Hasidim delivering pizzas to an army base. Obviously tefillah and learning, but they're also physically involved. They're getting, they're not. There's been more like Haredim that are interested in perhaps enlisting in the army. Not, if that's not going to help now, but there is a much greater involvement, and I think people are just much more together. There's 3 months ago there was news reports about reservists, not happy with the government, not happy with what's going on. We know that every Motzei Shabbos, more and more protests, and they were saying, reservists were saying, we're not going to serve. When we're called up, we're not going to serve. My son is not an outlier here. My son who volunteered when they called people up, they didn't get 100% return on reservists coming up. They got well over 120, 130%, meaning just people that did not have to, were exempt, just came. Like it's overwhelming. And I think the Haredim are part of that. They're not, there's those kind of divisions that we hear a lot about during peacetime. There's none of that. There's none of that happening here in Israel at all.
Eli, I'll share with you also. Some of our soldiers are not getting kosher food right now because there's not necessarily manpower to make kosher food for them. And the Haredi communities have cooked like crazy, sending massive amounts of food to the bases so that that people who are Dati Leumi or keep kosher, whatever it is, can have food to eat. And I know this because I delivered that food myself to my brother-in-law's base. And right now, I would say my experience is there's zero division. There was a car accident where there was a Chiloni Jew and a Haredi Jew got into a car accident, and it was actually the Chiloni Jew's fault. He got out of the car and he was apologizing profusely, and he said to the Haredi Jew, it was videoed, it was very beautiful. He said to the Haredi Jew, he said, "I'm so sorry, my mind is just in a different place. I just got back shoulders." Sometimes it takes an enemy from without to remind us of our inner unity, and unfortunately, that was very much the case right now. But Baruch Hashem, there's a beautiful, beautiful achdus in the country, like I've never seen before.
I can add from the front lines, being here now. I can't say where I am.
Jason Chrysler speaking for those that don't know.
I am down south here. I can't say where I am. I could tell you, before we came, about 2 weeks ago, a week ago, before this all happened, there was left, there was right, there were liberals, Dati, Haredi. At this point on, there is none. People are coming here. We are coming in with our Hummers. Haredim are coming, giving us cholent. Thursday night, we had cholent delivered to us. People are throwing things on our Hummers. Take whatever you guys need, socks, to anything we need. There is no left, right, nothing. Everyone is together at this point. Even those who can't help, were never thought of helping, never thought of joining, are in with us. Everybody's together. Those who always spoke about they don't do anything, this, that, there's none of that anymore. Everybody feels everybody as one.
Any other questions?
If possible, I'd actually like to add on to what your goal was saying. This past week, I was serving, also can't really say where, in a couple different places on the Gaza border. And again, one of the places I was serving in, some of the houses we were walking by, we were doing different guarding duties, watching for terrorists. There were signs up in some of the places where I was. There was the lefty signs, anti-Haredim, anti-this, anti-the reform, this, that. And there were some people, some Miluimnikim on the Yeshiva who I was talking to them. He was like, yeah, we're not the most right-wing Yeshiva, right-wing place ever. But right now, it really does not matter at all. There's no differentiation between anything right now. We're one everything. And I want to say that I've also really been feeling it here, adding on to what Rick said.
Benjamin.
Any
I have a
last
question.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask. It's on everyone's mind, but like I'm not going to ask. Oh, is Mashiach coming? Is this officially Mechanis Gog and Magog? Is this that? But I'm curious as to, what maybe prophecies have been. Are there prophecies that have been like maybe fulfilled, or is there anything that can maybe like tickle the brain a little bit as to that which is on our mind? We're feeling the Achdus, but we're also feeling the tragedy. We're feeling, as my wife said, like the birth pains of Mashiach are real. So I'm just curious, if there's anything you can share?
I'm the uninspiring one to answer that question. I still think, back to Yaakov Avinu and Chazal and not being Choshev Esaketz. We're certainly davening that this should be the end of terrible suffering of the Jewish people over the course of history and certainly over the course of the past century. And it should be the beginning of a new era of Gilui Shechina. But for me, we're davening, we're working, we're doing everything that we can. And certainly there's a vision of hope. As I mentioned, I wrote an email to the parents, seeing the guys and how they're responding and seeing how, Israeli youth is responding and how American youth is responding and how, I think the message I have is the future is very, very bright. But we certainly are living in times that we need Mashiach. We certainly need Mashiach, and we're hopeful, but we got to keep doing what we're doing, in a very, very real way.
Hey, can I ask?
Go ahead.
So people are like talking constantly about like the impact that this is going to have, regardless of like, territorial and stuff. But I'm asking, what's like the impact you think is going to be on, Klal Yisrael on a religious level, sort of after this, or at least in like the army, you see guys putting on tzitzit for the first time, and you see all these crazy things that are happening regardless of the situation. And I don't know what this is going to mean for Klal Yisrael, afterwards. And that seems so far away, but at the end of the day, like, is it something that's inspiring now, but, is it going to last, or like, what do you think is going to look like?
We're definitely seeing a hisaurus in Shmiras HaMitzvos and, so many different ways, Tel Aviv restaurants that are now, transforming into kosher so they can supply food to soldiers and tzitzis and Shabbos and, so many different things. We hope this is the beginning of something, that's going to transform the Jewish people. Certainly we do. And the biggest tragedy in the world would be, Be'ez Hashem, when this is all over, if we go back to what we were, 2 weeks ago, then it's been in vain. We have to change. We have to be better. We have to be more, what we're seeing today. We have to figure out how to capitalize on it and continue it. There's it shouldn't come to tragedies and enemies to bring this out of us. This is who we really are, and we just needed this to reveal who we really are, and we have to make sure that who we really are, we can keep it up.
I'll only add, I think the Yeshiva said it beautifully, but I'm less concerned with the question of whether or not people who are not observant will become observant. I'm much more invested in the question, for us who are observant, will we figure out how to connect to those who are different than us in a way that's truly lasting? Will we create space for every person in Klal Yisrael to recognize that they're a Jew and to embrace them for who they are? And in that space for them to, like Chazal say, Torah. So to sit and think about what will be with those who are not religious and will they become religious, I'm not sure how much that's relevant to us. Obviously we can always do our best to on the question that's, I think, a question that's being asked of our community, which is how will we relate to those who are Jewish and who are perhaps serving Hashem in their own unique way? I'll share with you that when Rosh Soloveitchik left the 80th birthday party of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, there was an 80th birthday Farbrengen. So a reporter asked Rosh Soloveitchik. He said, I see now that the Baal Shem Tov and the Gra have made peace. And I'll finish with this story. So the Baal Shem Tov and the Gra have made peace because, after all, you know, a Schneerson is certainly a sign of the Baal Shem Tov, and a Soloveitchik is certainly a sign of the Gra. And the fact that you're sitting at the same tish says that there's shalom. And Rosh Soloveitchik responded in typical, fashion. He said, the Gra and the Baal Shem Tov already made peace when they were burned in the same ovens in Auschwitz. And I think we were once again reminded that it doesn't matter what type of Jew you are. They didn't come across the border looking for Datiyim, for Chilonim, for Charedim. They didn't come looking for right, left, or center. They just wanted to hurt us. And sometimes it takes Haman to remind us that every single Jew is precious in the eyes of Hashem. Guys, thank you very much for coming on today. Thank you for being a part of this family. Your support means a tremendous amount, and we look forward to updating you with better news in the future. Bakar of Mamish.
Thank you, guys. Really means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.